Okay. All right. So um, it's probably late morning. So good morning, good afternoon for everybody who has just joined. Today's our fifth session, and we will go through some again. I think every session now is very critical, very advanced knowledge articles. So every session is very important. So today we will start with record types. I think we started on that in the last session, but we just give you a very high level, quick 2 minutes review. So this lecture we will go into the detail of what is record types, and then there are a couple of other very critical topics like email templates, approval processes and things of that sort. So again, very critical session today. Also, I might not able to take the full session today. I'm not feeling too well, so I will see how long can I survive, and I may close the session today slightly sooner than anticipated, but I'll try to cover as much as I can based on how long can I survive. All right, so record types. So record types, I believe I gave a very high level introduction, what is record type. But before that, let's again, like anything else, let's talk about the concept, what is record type, and then we will go into the details. So let me open the, okay. So we'll use the same sheet just in case if something is helpful. And usually I provide that. Again, before starting the session, just to let you know, I have forwarded the meeting links. I actually changed the channel, like the YouTube channel from prior to new. So if somebody is trying to access the older training modules or older training sessions, if you click the last training, it actually, if you go back to the channel, it has all the trainings on the same channel. So even if you don't, if you don't receive the email, and if I hopefully normally I upload it by the end of the day today. So even if you want to go back to the same channel that I sent previously, you can able to see the training on the same channel. So all the trainings are available on the same channel. I know some of you have requested, because once you go back to the previous 1 and 2 sessions, they are not there anymore, because I have moved the channel, and this new channel has all the trainings. So if you go to my previous recording, recording number 3, recording number 4, and then if you go back to the channel, it has all the trainings in there. So just a quick reminder. Okay, so record types. So what is record type? So basically, I can give you 2 main scenarios about the record types, and we will also see that in Salesforce after implementing the two main use case. Again, the use case could be unlimited based on the requirement, but just for the conceptual point of view, I can present 2 main use cases for record type. So case number 1 is, for example, you have a sales team and you have marketing team. Okay. And when you actually looking into a particular object, so we can talk about a particular object. So let's say the object that we are looking into is ABC, any object. I'm not specifying the object because it could be any object that we are talking about. So let's say that particular object ABC has 10 fields in there. Okay. And we have 2 separate teams, sales team and marketing team. Now, you know that when you are, or even within, or even to make it easy, let me do that, sales team commercial and sales team residential. So let's take 2 sales team. One is for residential and one is for commercial. Okay. Now, as the name suggests, one team is dealing with a different kind of properties and the other team is dealing with commercial type of properties. And the object name is, let's say, ABC, and it has 10 fields. What happens is there might be, so basically when you, the use case is when, if I'm logged in as a sales team for residential, I can able to see all the fields which are related to sales for the residential properties. And if I'm logged in as a commercial, then I will see the fields which are related to the properties which are commercial. Now, what is the easiest way to do that? I mean, let's say if we don't have the concept of record types, what will happen? So let's say you have a page layout for this one and you actually displays all the 10 fields. Okay, right? And in both cases, you're displaying all the 10 fields, right? But what will happen is, for example, in residential, there might be few fields which are related to commercial. And then if I am a user, I will be confused that what value should I input? And then, I may go back and ask, or if I leave it, the value or things of this sort. So this will cause confusion if there is a field available which is not valuable. Now, maybe somebody will say that, okay, what about, can you hide that field? Okay, I can hide that field, but then that field will be hidden for both of them, right? So again, the commercial team still need to see that. So what would be the easiest way to do that? So in order to have the different type of fields, although they all belong to the same object, but we need to choose, for example, if there are 10 fields, let's say 5 fields are common. Okay, so these 5 fields will show up in both page layouts. Okay, and then let's say there are 3 fields belong to this and 2 fields belong to this. So that's how you can become total 10 fields. So there are total 10 fields, 5 fields are common. So they will go into both page layouts. And then there are 3 fields which are related to residential and 2 fields which are related to commercial. So total 10 fields. And what we call that, this is a page layout for.
Hey girl, I
Yeah,
just tested you. Did you see it with a different line?
is there a question? Is there a question? Okay. Um, okay, so make sure you guys are muted just in case. And if you have a question, please feel free to unmute and ask. But make sure you are always on mute in case if you are speaking in your background, or if there are any noises
Hey
in the
girl,
background.
how
Okay.
are you?
Hey, Yunus, can you, do you have a question, or can you mute
Oh,
your,
yes, yes, we are in, yeah, we are ready. I just tested you when you called.
okay. Can you mute your phone?
Really?
There's some background noise
Okay, let
coming
me
up.
send it to you. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
And if you have a question, then you please feel free to unmute and ask the question. Okay. So we can create a page layout for residential and page layout for commercial. Okay, and then because we want to apply to 2 different views, we can also have an option to, we can have a separate profile. So profile for residential. One second. Hey, Shumaya. Okay. Um, so we have 2 different profiles. We have a profile for residential and we have a profile for commercial. Okay. So if we can use a separate profiles, And if we can use the separate layouts, then we can achieve this task. So what was the task again? Just to wrap it up, is we have two separate teams. We want to show them separate fields. Maybe some of the fields are common and some of the fields are separate. And when you log in as a particular team, you only able to see the fields that you are looking for. Again, both of them related to the same object. The object is not different, same object, but it will allow you to able to view in different. Now, what are the different use case for this type of um, analysis? For example, if you have different teams and they are logging in, for example, either their sales team, different departments, like in this case, it could be altogether separate teams. For example, you have a sales team, they can see all these, and then there is a marketing team which needs to show different fields. So maybe out of 10 fields, they only need to see 8 fields. So you can only show them 8 fields. Again, you can have their separate profile and separate page layout and show them. But again, they are 8 fields out of the same 10 fields. So does that make sense? This use case? Any questions? Okay. All right. What is the other example for the same? So this is use case number one. So the other use case can be, so for example, it's the same team, for example, sales team, but instead of having two separate teams, what they want is two separate layouts. So for example, one layout is for residential and other layout for commercial. And the only difference between them is the page layout. So the page layout here will be for residential and the page layout here will be for commercial. In this case, the profile is the same because same people are using it. So for example, we can say profile is sales profile and the same profile is using. So in this case, obviously the same person when they're logging in. Now what they want is they need to have two options, one and two. One option, if they select residential, it will show them different set of fields. And if they select the commercial, then they see different set of fields. So this is the difference. So either you can use it in order to differentiate which two page layout. In this case, the only differential is the page layout. So you can use two separate page layouts, but the profile is the same because for the same person, you want to show them two different views. Okay. The other use case is two separate teams. In that you have two separate layouts. So page layout one, page layout two, but also you have two separate profiles. So another profile commercial or profile sales for sales team one or profile sales team two, whatever you have named the profiles. So in this case, you are changing two variables. In this case, you're changing one variable and then profiles are same. Does this make sense, so that you can get an high level idea what it is? And again, before that, we also learned something about dependent fields, but again, I showed dependent fields is only like a selection criteria. If you have a drop down, if you have two separate items like residential and commercial, but if you choose, you can choose that, but that will not give you flexibility that if you're logged in as a different user or different type of a user, or if you're selecting one property, all the other fields will be different. So that is a totally different requirement. That is a very basic one, just more for the selection. This record type is very critical because this is used on all the different scenarios. For example, if you want to relate that to your normal offerings of service packages like silver, gold, platinum. So silver might have less number of fields, gold may have more, platinum may have more, and then although they all belong to the same object. So we are not changing the object, they are coming from the same object, but based on different reasons, you will have a different view, so that the user who is taking the input do not get confused and only concentrate on the fields that is more related to the actual record type. And again, as I said, the other application will be is the same team, but you are offering different. So this is the one where you can have gold, silver, and all the other different options, platinum options. This one is more like you have two different teams or two different roles. You can also think of this as not only sales team one, but you can also think of sales team versus manager, or manager and above. So in one, you can able to see, show all the fields which normally require for sales team to take input. But here, if you have a managers and above, they may have access to fields like discounts. They may have access to fields like uh, total cost, or anything of that sort where you need approvals or fields which are related to approvals, or maybe any of the fields which are only required or only created for managers or above. So they can able to see those fields, they can able to edit that, but the regular sales team cannot able to see, for example, the discounts, or maybe there are some comment section which is only available for managers to able to view. So different type of requirements. These are, I thought of two main types of requirements, so I just show them. Let's quickly see how does it look like in real world, and then we can go back and actually able to um, see how you can create your own. So I have created something already. Let me see. So here, okay, I may have created in some other okay. Anyways, I think I had created here, but not, but never mind. We can actually go ahead and create that. Let me see some, there are some messages. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and create, so we can just follow the process and we can able to see. Again, this I will share with you guys. So in case if this is helpful, you can use that. So we just go through why do we need record types. Then we talk about, already talk about it, that you need page layouts and then you need profiles. So we have these two separately discussed in the previous sessions, that how you create new profiles, how do you create page layouts. In our case, we have two profiles. One is for admin and one is for the user. The other one is page layout. You can create multiple page layouts. I can show you how you can do that quickly, and then you can combine them to create record types. Again, you can use the same page layout, different profiles, or you can use different page layouts, same profiles, based on whatever case you are working on. So let's take the first case, test app Ali, where you can actually have separate record types with the same page layout. So what we can do is, in this case, we can have record type sales team, and we can use the page layout sales layout. So in this one, is basically what we are using is, we have two teams, sales team and marketing team. They can have separate record type with separate page layout. So these could be a two. And then another use case for Z properties, where you have for same team, there are multiple options with the different page layouts. So maybe let's try this one, is a little bit more simple. So record type one is residential. And then you have page layout, residential page layout, and then record type two is commercial, page layout is commercial. So let's start with this one. But before that, any question before we start? Okay. So let's check. So what are the different steps that we need? Is first of all we need to know. Um, okay, so what is the first step? First step is we need to check um, check the profiles. Okay, so what are the profiles that we need to use in this case? So can somebody tell me how to check profiles for the different users? So I have two users. I want to check their profile. So for example, I have a user called KLE and another user called, I believe, test user. And I want to make sure that I know what profiles they're using, right? So that's the task. Can anybody tell me what's the easiest way to check that?
You go to users and
Search.
click that user and then uh,
Okay. So I
on.
can go to home, I can search users, and then I can go to users. And then the first user is KLE, and I can go all the way here and check profile. So it's called system administrator. Okay. So I know that first profile that I'm dealing with is system administrator. Why do I need that? Because when we use them, when we create the record types, we may need to know what are the profiles that we are working with, right? So that's why we need to have this information handy and available so that we can use them. The second user is a test user, and what profile that user is using? Test user profile. Okay, very good. Now, second thing is, what do we need now? We need to know what object are we working with. Okay, what is the object? So identify the object. Okay, so what object we are using? Just as an example, we can take, if we are using the Z properties, we can use Z properties as our object. So Z properties is our object, right? What is the third thing do we need? Anybody? What would be the next item that we need to look? So we have our profiles, right? Which is good. We also identify the object. Where do we need to create? Because again, we are working on an object, right? So we
Probably page layout.
page layout. Here you go. Thank you. So now we need
That's
to
Farhan.
exactly create or confirm. So for example, you already created in the past and you want to use it, or maybe you have not created. So either create or confirm page layout. So let's quickly look and see if we already have a page layout and what are their names. And if we don't have them, let's go ahead and create it. So let's do that. So anybody knows how we can check the page layouts? Where should I go?
I think same location. We can search
Okay, I can go here. What should I search?
page layout.
Nothing comes up.
Then I should try the setup place, the right corner.
You should go to the object.
Okay, here you go. So whoever is the second person, that is the right approach, because this page layout is not a universal function. What I mean by universal function, under home, when you search something, all of these are universal functions. For example, I'm looking for users, right? So when I search users, that's a universal function. Under universal function, you have independent categories. So for example, if I go to users, it will show me all the users and then I can identify. So that's a universal function. For example, if I'm looking for a particular object, if I search object, should I get it? No. Why? Because objects are available inside the object manager, or you can see that it also pointing to the same thing. So if I go to object manager, now it has a list of all the objects. If I go back to home and if I cancel that, make sure you also review it, what is there. So for example, users is there, We talked about a couple of other functionalities in the past. For example, security, right? We talk about some of these functionalities, sharing settings, remember? So for example, if I go to sharing settings, I can able to see sharing settings, but they are again universal functions. So anything which is more specific to a particular object, for example, page layout. So page layout is not a generic function, but it is actually a sub function of object. So very good, whoever have pointed out. So we need to go to a particular object because page layout associate with every object. So we need to know, okay, what object, and then we go to that object, and then we can look up how many page layout does it have. So first of all, I need to know what object. We already identify the object in step 2. So our object is Z properties. So I will go back to search the object and say, okay, Z properties, and this is the object. So I load up the object. Now on the left hand side, I have all the subcategories or properties of that particular object, Z properties. Now I can see page layouts. So in the page layout, normally when you go in there, you will only see Z property layout. You will not see residential and commercial. Why? Because I have created there. So for example, if you come here and for the first time and you want to create your own page layout, so how would you create that? So the simplest and easiest way for that is you can load up the one that you have, right? The main. And what you can do is you can have an option called save and save as. So what I can do is, even before making changes, I can first rename it, save as, and I can call it, for example, test page layout. And you can call it whatever you want. So for example, you can call it commercial page layout, residential page layout, sales page layout, marketing page layout, so that it has some meaning, because you will not be the only admin using this system. For example, if you have more than one admins, or maybe you leave the company and somebody else join the company and they need to do some changes. So if as much as possible, if you use the more generic terms, anybody who is working on the system able to understand. So that is also something very preached and talked about, that you always use more common sense and always use the terminologies which are very, very easy to understand. And also, if you have noticed, when we are creating a lot of the names and things, there's always a block called description. I always skip that because again, I'm only showing you the examples how to do that. But if I'm working on an actual environment, it's almost very, very necessary that you fill that in. Why? Because if tomorrow somebody else open this up and they need to make any changes, description is the area from where they can understand some of the concepts behind creating whatever you are doing. For example, if it is an object, if there is a rule that you are creating, if there's a security setting, if there, so any of that complicated items that you create, they always have options to give you some idea. In this case, obviously, it's just a naming convention. So if you can follow a nice naming convention, it will be very helpful for yourself, because maybe you might not need to use this for next 6 months. After 6 months, when you come back, and if you want to make some changes, and if you have multiple page layouts, if the name is self-explanatory, it will be easy for you. If it is not, then you go inside each page layout, and then you have to figure out that, okay, what is the page which is the closest to the requirement that I have, and I need to use. All right, so here you go. You can create a new page layout right now. So this is the same page layout as before. The only thing we actually perform right now is just the rename, and now we have a test page layout. How does it look like right now? So I can, if I go back and see, there is a new test page layout created. Actually right now at this moment is exactly the same as Z property, because all we did is we go to Z property and save as a new page. But now let's go in there and make changes. So for example, now this is a new page that you want to make changes. You are free to do that. Let's say you don't want this property type, you can remove it. You don't want this subtype, you can remove it. You want to move some fields around, you can do that. So let's bring them back, but just to give you an idea that whatever you need, you can bring them back. So here we have record type also. So I can bring the record type back if we need. So I can, let me try that. We haven't created the record type yet, but again, as I said, there might be there already. I've created some of them, but anyway, so the main idea behind that is you can, we discussed that we have 10 fields, and let's say the 5 fields are common and 2 or 3 fields are uncommon. So based on whatever page layout you are creating, you can have the fields that you're looking for. Again, as an object, if you go to your fields and relationship, these are your total fields. So the total fields are always common between the different page layouts. But in each page layout, you can choose what fields do you need to display. So for example, if I go to my commercial page layout, I have these fields. And then if I go back to the other page layout, I have these fields. So again, they maybe look common because we are just doing an example, but in all practical purposes, they can be different. For example, if I'm using, this is what page layout, this is for residential. So for residential, you can have information like number of bedrooms, you can have information number of bathrooms, garage size, number of floors, you can have kitchen size, number of stoves, number of this, number of that. And for example, if you are dealing with the commercial, you can have lot size, you can have number of offices, you can have the square footage, you can have the floor number. So again, there are few things which are common. So for example, the cost could be common, the lot size could be common, but then in terms of number of bedrooms, obviously number of bedrooms will only be in residential. But again, that field number of bedrooms should also be in the fields area, right? So number of bedrooms will be there, but you will choose to display only in residential layout, but not in the commercial layout. In commercial layout, for example, you can have number of separate offices, number of common areas, number of um, window offices, something like that, whatever is more pertain to a particular type of thing. But all of those fields in turn are available in the field column, in the field section, but you can choose whatever you display. So basically, in short, what we did is either we already created in the past, we have page layouts, like in my case, or if not, then you can easily go to your default page layout and rename it to the one that you are looking for, and then choose the fields which are appropriate for that page layout. Same process you can repeat, go back and rename it again to another name, and then choose the fields that you're looking
Can you please open up one page layout, anyone, this one, the property or
for.
commercial? So the top area I'm talking about, looks like it's selected fields. So it shows all the common fields or
It will show
the
all the
administrative area,
whatever
all
fields
the
you have
fields, right?
available in the fields and relationship. It will
Right.
show all the fields.
All fields, okay.
And then you can choose whatever you choose. You can bring it down. For example,
Bring in.
if I need to bring record type here, all it's like a drag and drop. So you can bring it here. If you said no, I want to show it, maybe the first thing, you can show it here. You said okay, I don't need property type or subtype for this page layout. You can remove them, right? So you can play around with them basically.
Okay, so once I remove it, it shows as enable, and if I bring it down, it shows as disable on top, something like that.
Exactly. So anything which is gray out here, it means you are already using it. Anything which is active, so
Okay.
if I pull that back, now this is active, that it means that this field is not used over here. That's why it's active.
All
So
right, so I don't have to go back and see what are available field. I can see all
absolutely
in the
not.
same page.
So yeah, absolutely. So very good question. So you don't need to go back to the fields. All the fields are available here. So for example, in case you have too many fields, so we are obviously using a practice, so we don't see all the fields. Like in some cases, you can have 50 fields, 60 fields, 100 fields. So there's also a search button. So for example, here you can even search for the property type. So for example, if you know what field you are looking for, you can even search it over here. Because in this case, again, as I said, we are just doing a sample. So you don't see that many fields, but in all practical purposes, there are a lot of fields for each object based upon the environment that you're working in. And you can even search it. And again, and you can add or remove as you want. And there are different sections. So if you click on the fields, that is this section you have there, but then you have buttons. So you see all of these buttons. So again, you can even use them or remove them. For example, I don't want the sharing button, I can remove it. and this is not there anymore. I want to bring it back. All I need to do is bring it back. If I need submit for approval here, I can bring it down here as well.
Okay, looks like we are like it has control on like mobile and lightning action. I'm not sure how.
Yes. So for example, here, mobile and lightning action. So what is mobile and lightning action? So what happened is, as I discussed previously, that you know that there is a older type of Salesforce called custom called um,
Classic.
classic. I'm sorry. So you have a classic. So the newer version is lightning. So what happened is there are sometimes things which are not converted already. So that's why you have something called lightning actions. So there are some actions which are available in lightning only and mobile. So these ones are more specific to lightning and mobile version. So you can also choose them if you want them into mobile. And lightning. So in this case, for example, mobile card sales for mobile only. So if, for example, if you have a requirement where you need specific buttons for mobile only, then you can choose them. But other than that, all of the functionalities that you're using, they are available both on mobile as well as on the desktop. But let's say for a mobile, you only want something for Salesforce mobile only. So in that way, you can choose and drop something here. Again, these are some additional options. Anything that you are using, so you can compare that with a website. So normally when you have a website, when you see them on a mobile, you actually see everything, right? But in some cases, if it is not mobile optimized, then you see it in a different fashion. Maybe the buttons are not clickable. So there is a something called mobile converted or mobile friendly. So those are the buttons and everything more optimized for mobile. So Salesforce mobile app is actually optimized for the mobile, the button size and everything. It is not just converted into from desktop version. It's actually mobile centric. So if you need some additional functionality in mobile, more specific to mobile, you can add that. Same thing with the lightning actions. So there are more some generic actions. There are some new actions which are maybe not available in the older version of the Salesforce and only available in the lightning. So you can add those as well. Same thing, there's a related list. So if you remember any record, if you go to any record like here, you have something called related list, right? So you can also control what kind of related list do you need, and you can, where do you need to change that from? You need to change from over here, and you can, so right now, for example, here we have a buyer name. Now, if you need to make some changes, you need to show some more information, you can always able to do from here, from this section. All right, so once you make all the changes and everything, you can basically save it, and then what you have, you will have basically new page layouts available. So this is what we learned here quickly, that you can choose the base layout, make the changes, and most of the changes that are related is basically choosing the fields that you're looking for. And one more item, one more thing that could be more helpful for you when you're choosing that is, because you have separate page layouts, right? You also have a capability to make few fields, for example, required, read only. So now this is our option, because for example, you are creating a page layout for a sales team, okay? And you have another page layout for managers, and you want managers to able to, you want that field to be compulsory or required for sales team but not for managers. So here you have, because now you have a separate page layout, so in this particular page layout you can make it required. In that way, for example, sales team cannot create a record without this particular field. But for example, if it is not necessary for managers, remember sometimes manager can overpass, or if you need to make some exceptions, you always have to go to managers. And this is the same reason, because managers may have less restrictions, because they can make a decision and they have probably more knowledge and authority for particular scenarios, and they can say, okay, that's fine, although this field is required. For example, in some cases, let's say you go to a grocery shop, you buy something, and it requires your ID. So the salesperson say, okay, I cannot complete your transaction unless you show me the ID. Although that person looks like he's a, he's obviously, he don't need an ID, he's 50 years old. But the salesperson say, okay, I do not have authority. Although I understand, but I don't have authority. So normally what he does, he normally call the manager, the manager logs in with his own credentials, and he can able to bypass and say, okay, that's fine, I'm fine with that, and he can process the transaction. So just to give you an example, that this is more practical cases, that you can have restrictions for maybe people who don't have that kind of authority to over or surpass some of the criterias. But if you have some other people, so this is another way of doing it. Again, there are many ways to do that, but again, this is one of the other ways you can use that, that you can have, although the same field is available on both page layouts, but you can change the way the user will be interacting with the field. One can be required, one cannot be required, one can be read only, one cannot be read only. So you can play around with that. And as I said, especially in a scenario where you are showing the same field in different layouts, maybe you might need to show with the different properties. All right, so what we discussed so far, so we have created confirmed page layout. So in our case, we have we have residential page layout and commercial page layout. Okay, all right. So we have done so far, created profiles, identify the object, and then we either create or identify the page layouts that we are looking for our record types. And then what do we need the record types? So what are the record types we are looking for? Again, that's probably the most important thing, right? So what are the two record types we just discussed? We have residential, and the other record type is commercial. And as we discussed, that you can have different type of fields in each set. All those fields first of all need to be created. So your first step will be, let's say you need 10 fields overall. So for example, 8 fields in residential, 10 fields in commercial, whatever. But first thing first, you need to make sure they all are available in the fields. If not, you can go ahead and create that, and then the second step is go back and make sure the proper layouts are created. And the third step is you can go back and start creating the page layouts. Any question before we move forward? All right, so now we can, the next step is, now we have all the ingredients available. So let's start create record types. Now what we're gonna do is we can start creating the record types. So how do you create record types? So again, this is more specific to each object. First thing, we can go to our object. Again, I'm just taking a step back. So we go to the object that we need to create the record types. Then as you see, page layouts are there, fields are there, record types is also there. So if we go to the record types, excuse me. So record types can also be created based on the independent objects. So if you go there, for you, it will be empty. Again, not a problem. You can click new, and all you need to do is basically, so the master is by default, if there is nothing, it will be master. So master is nothing but a default. Now for you, if you click that, nothing will come up. For me, commercial and residential comes up because I already created something. So for you, it will be master. Now you can provide your label. So again, you can say commercial. I'm just saying test because I already have commercial. And then the name comes up, description. This is the area that you need to fill out. I mean, you can right now, you can skip it, but whenever you're working back in the environment, or even you can make a habit out of it, that you can say that description, this is record type for residential properties and will be used by sales team. Just to give an idea, whatever you want to input, whatever is helpful, thinking about if somebody else access this, can they have enough information to understand it, and anything that can be helpful for yourself as well, because in the future it could be long time before you come back and review it. By the time you don't remember why did you create it. So if you put the right wording and description, you understand it. Also, there is a button called active. If you do not click that, nothing will happen. So make sure that record type is active if you are ready to use it. In our case, I'm not doing it right now, but or I can just do it if you need it. So here is the second option where we discuss that, okay, what is the profile? Again, if I click enable the profile, what will happen? It will check for every profile that we have a system, but we don't want that, right? In our system, what we discuss that that we need for system administrator, and we have two types of profiles, right? We also need to know, for example, we are creating the resident, we are creating two record types, which record type will go with what profile. So for example, just as a as an example, let's say we say that residential will go with KLE. So KLE has system admin profile, right? And then the other one, commercial, will go with the test user profile, right? Um, so that's one scenario. Remember, we talked about other scenario where you want to show both type of record types for the same person, right? Remember, we talked about two different scenarios. So if that is the case, then you can just use the same profile for both of them. So it's up to you, whatever you want to do. In our second case, we said we will use, did we set same profile or same team? Yeah, same team. So let's say we are saying the same team. And so when you say same team, meaning same profile. So in this case, for example, we are creating two record types for different properties, but we are saying for the same team, right? So in this case, for example, we can change, we can select the same profile, right? But in other case, you can have separate profiles also. Again, whatever the requirement is. So in this case, for example, if I'm creating the residential, I will choose the system admin profile, which is here, system admin. I will choose this and then go to next. And here it will, again, remember the second option, page layout. We already discussed what is the page layout. So if I'm creating a record type for residential, then I need to select the for the profile for system admin, I need to select the right page layout. So for example, remember we created all these page layout. So for example, I'm doing for residential, I first of all select the residential, but this will basically change for everybody. So I'll keep everybody as the same page layout, which is generic. I would say apply a different layout for each profile. So make sure the default for everybody remains the same. So this is the default page layout. I only want to change the page layout for a system admin to, for example, we are creating a residential. Okay, so two things we did. Let me do this again. So two main important items. I'm creating a, let's say I'm creating a residential. So just to make it more easy. So for example, I'm doing a residential. Okay, I choose residential, and here there are two and the first step is select the profile. In my case, we are saying that same person can able to see two different type of page layouts or two different type of record types. So I am only choosing one profile. However, and then when I say one profile, meaning I will choose this profile here, and when I create another record type, I will again choose the same profile. That's what it means, right? One time I'm choosing one profile anyways. But for example, when I go back and choose the commercial record type, then also I will choose the same profile if I want to show the same person both the options, right? If I'm saying that this option is only seen by a system admin, then I choose system admin right now. And when I say commercial, then I choose maybe a separate profile, which is test user. Okay, does that make sense?
Right, but in this example, you're choosing same profile system administrator.
Yeah, in this example, what it means at this step, I will choose one anyways, right? But then when I create the commercial, then also I will choose the same profile. Make sense?
Yeah.
Let's, okay. So I'll go back and show that again. But for example, right now, let's choose a system admin. So this is the first step where you choose the profile. Again, based on your scenario, then you can choose it. The reason why I'm telling you both the scenarios is because you will able to see the differential between the two options. Right now, again, in both cases, we are choosing one profile. But when I create the second record type, which is commercial, if I'm choosing the same person able to see both, then I can choose the same profile again. Or if I'm saying that, okay, one person can see one record type, other person or other profile can see other type of record type, then you can choose a separate ones. All right, so let's say, for example, we choose this one for now, and here we choose the page layout. So again, as a default, we make sure that all of them have the main default page layout. Then we said, okay, let's change the page layout for the profile that we are saying to system admin. We said residential, looks good. So we choose the right page layout. We also choose the right profile, and then we say save and new. Okay, so what I gonna do is let me cancel this and make sure we can go to our existing ones and make sure they are good. So if I go to residential, so this is active. Okay, so here you can see the page layout assignments. So for example, system administrator, right? So system administrator has all the default. The user, test user profile can have commercial and residential layouts. Okay, so what I did is I'm actually creating as a system admin, but for this particular use case, for the second user, I have created commercial page layout, and then I've created residential page layout. If you choose the commercial commercial record type and residential record type, and I choose the same profile. Does it make sense? So I can show that I can remember I was trying to view it, so I forgot that I have created those page layouts for the second user, test user, not for the admin user. So commercial and residential. Okay, so those are created. Now we once we create these two, we assign everything. Let's log in as a second user and see how does it look like. Okay, so now remember this use case was, what was the use case? That same team in this case is test user, can able to use two types of record types. Two record types are residential and commercial. And in this case, can somebody answer, is the profile will be same or we have used different profiles?
I think same profile.
Same profile, right? Is everybody clear that in this particular case, we are saying the same team can able to see two different page layouts. So when we are creating the record types for residential, we have choose the profile type as test user profile, and then we create the record type as residential and select the page layout as residential page layout. Okay, that's done. We go back and say, okay, new record type. This time record type is commercial. What is the profile type? Again, the same profile type, which is test user profile. And then we come back and then we move forward, same profile. And then we said page layout. What is the page layout? Z commercial page layout. And then we save it, right? And then when we log in as a test user, we first thing first is we have an option. So if I select residential, if I click next, I can able to see options only for residential, and I can able to select the sub fields based upon the residential only. House
So
apartment.
Param, if there were two different profiles, probably this option box won't pop up, right? It maybe just
Very
display.
correct. So I think if I log in as the other app, I can show you, I think, let me try. I think that's what I did. So for other app, I try the other option, which is two different profiles. So for example, here, if I create a new, so here it will only showing me options for residential. So what I did is, if you see here, it is only showing me residential options. Can you see that? Residential new,
Yeah.
meaning residential new is actually the name of the record type. So record type is residential. So you can see only residential. And if I log in as another user, which is the admin, then it will show me commercial. So basically, this is the other example where you don't see two options, you only see one option. But which option? The one that you have selected for this particular profile. So in this example, the profiles will be different and page layouts will be different. But this is how you will see there's no two options. But if you go back to other example, where I have the Z properties, I have same profile but two record types for the same record. So let me take a pause and let you guys absorb it. If you have any question, let me know. Is it clear to everybody? Because again, I know it's a little confusing, and I may have confuse you more because I keep giving you two examples. But the reason for that is I want to give you a little bit more complex scenario so that you can understand the difference between when you see two options and when you see one option. Because then if you understand this idea at this point in time, at least on a high level, you at least do not struggle with the concept of what is actually it is doing, right? So that's why I created both the options in front of you, that if you can have same set of users able to see both the record types, then you're choosing the same profile, as simple as that. If you want to choose different type of groups of people only see a specific page layout, then you will choose different profiles and different page layouts. So if you want to sum it up very quickly, what we can do is group one and group two, right? So if for the and here, so case one, where we want uh, to show both the options for the same set of same set of people. Same set of people is we have I don't know how should I do that, but anyways, what are the two options for profile? Case one is two options, meaning um, same team, right? If you have the same team in terms of profiles, it will be same profile, right? For A and B, same profile. And what will happen with the page layout? Page layout one, and you can use a separate page layout two over here, right? And if we have option two, and only one option per team, like you just said, okay, they are different. So these are different teams. So basically what will you have? You have profile A for team A, and then you have profile B for team B, right? Page layout will still be different. So these are the two scenarios that I've shown you. In this case, you will see two options like in what I showed you in Z property. And here you can see whatever the name is, that you have two different profiles, two different page layouts. And if you log in as this person, you will see just one page layout and one option. And if you log in as B, then you see another page layout and another option. In this case, if you log in as group one, you will see both the options. If you log in as, you see both the options. But again, these two are two different page layouts, so they may have different fields in them. Any questions, guys?
When you said different fields, probably because one has choose commercial, the second may be residential. That's why.
Absolutely. So page layout, when I say different page layouts, basically one is commercial, one is residential, and they can have different type of fields. It can so some fields might be still common, right? As I said, I mean,
Right.
for example, the purchase price, date of build, last owner. So some fields are common, but some fields, because of base of the nature, and this is again one of the examples, but some of the fields may be different. So whatever fields are associated, that's why you have two different page layouts. And then as I said, the main difference between them, either you can have two different page layouts and two different profiles, and you can have, or you can have two different page layouts, and then you can have any combination. Somebody can say, okay, can I have same page layouts? Yes, but what would be the difference then, right? If you can have two different profiles, if they want to see that the same page layout, yes, you can do that. Again, now it's basically the concept. The use case can be limitless based on your own scenario, based on your whatever the problem that you are solving. You can be very creative and you can create a lot of different options. But at this moment, what we are trying to understand, that what is this record type actually consist of. So the main ingredients of record type is, if you want to choose different profiles and want to show a specific set of fields, that is where record types comes into play. So anytime if your requirement is something like, oh, we have different type of users, we have different type of records, or we have different type of services, and we have, and when you say different type of services, again, it means that it is a set of different fields. If it is just one field, then obviously you don't want to create a record type for one field. Then you can only create a field, and then you can select the field accordingly. But when you say different type of set of fields, so as I said, you have a silver package, gold package, platinum package. Each of them may have totally different fields. And maybe, for example, if you have a team who only manages silver customers, so they don't even, should not even able to get access to the gold and platinum record type. So in that case, you can choose the profile for the silver sales team, and you can assign the silver page layout, and that's it, they're good. So they don't even know what is the options in gold or options in platinum. Or if you want your sales team to have access to all three, then you can have them all three, and they can ask, okay, are you a gold, or do you want to become a gold partner? They said yes. They can choose the gold partner, and they can see all the related field, and they can input everything for as per gold partner. If they choose platinum partner, maybe platinum partner require more information, more couple of more extra fields, because that's a different type of commitment or different pricing, so they will have more. So it's up to you. It's not necessary, it's not limited. It's based on your business case. What are you looking for? Any questions? Are you guys also clear on how to create record types? Any confusion, anything? Okay, I can just very quickly repeat the steps one more time. First thing is, you need to make sure you have right profiles. Okay, so for example, in this case, we are just taking an example of two profiles because that's all we can create, but in reality it could be multiple profiles. So you need to make sure that, or you need to ask, so let's say if you're an admin, you maybe ask with your business business analyst, or if you have direct access to the customer, you can ask them, okay, what are they looking for, who are those people, do they have, and then you know that if they have separate profiles or same profile. At this point in time, usually the product owners or a customer also know all of these details because they have helped build the overall system. But if they don't know, then at least you know that if the profiles are already there. Maybe if the profiles are not there, then your first step is actually create the appropriate profiles. So for example, he's saying that I need to have sales team only see this, marketing team only see that, and then some other managers see this and that. And it is something that you feel like that require a separate set of profiles, because they might need separate set of access, separate sharing models or whatever. Then you, for your first step is to make sure you create the right profiles. Second step, you need to know what object that you need to create. So for example, if you are in service and you need to have a particular object where it is like let's say a product, or whatever your object is, you need to identify the object. You need to make sure all the necessary fields are available. So in case if the customer wants to add some new fields, you can not only identify the object but also make sure um, all fields are available. And if not, you can add those fields. So that's the first step, to make sure your object is ready, right? So we can call that is object ready, right? Because you don't want to create everything only to realize that, oh, those fields are not even there. So first step first is profiles. If they're there, good. If they're not there, then as I said, you can create the profiles. Second step, go to the object, identify all the fields. If they're there, very good. If not, don't worry, then you can able to create all the new fields which are not there. Third step, page layouts. Again, you can check with the customer, okay, what kind of page layouts do you need? If you need silver, gold, platinum, you need to make sure what fields go into the silver, gold, and platinum. And if there is a separate requirement also, like for example, is everybody able to read and write for the particular fields? If some fields need to be hidden or something, whatever your page layout requirement is, you need to create the page layout, review it with the client, show to the client, show the properties of each field, and you know how to check the property that, okay, it could be read only or it could be required. So in some cases, maybe the silver partner may have some fields required, or maybe platinum, maybe not, whatever that is. You can talk to your customer, whatever the requirement is, and based on the requirement, you can identify and create the appropriate page layouts. Once you have everything ready, then that's the point where you start creating your record types. Um, in our example, we choose the same profile, and what else did we do is we use the page layout residential, right? And then in the second step, we use the same profile. And again, this is just one case. And then we choose the second page layout, which is commercial. Okay. Right. And you can have another, so we can just, I'll forward you this information as well. So this can be case one, and you can have case two, where you can have residential, you can allow, or here you can have test user profile, right? That's the only difference, that now in this case, residential is only viewed by system admin, commercial is only viewed by test user, and everything else is the same. So these are the two different examples that you can perform, and then you can test it out, how the record types work. Any question before we leave this topic and move on to the next item? Okay. Very good. So let's move on to the next item. Let me log back as an admin. And again, this is also, even I struggle sometime, that I forgot that how am I logged in, and I don't see it. So at the start of the session, I thought I have both the examples, but when I try to see it, I don't see it. But I totally forgot that I have created those two options for uh, more test user. But by the time I ended up and looking into it, then I remember that, oh, those two options were created only for the user, and then I was able to show you. So this thing is very normal, but just always a good practice to make sure that how you're logged in, because if you're logged in as a test user and you assigned a different profile than admin, then obviously you cannot able to see and make changes, and then you might be wondering that why the changes are not happening. And then if you are actually logged in as an admin and you make changes that will only imply for the test user, like in my case today, then you don't see the changes and you are actually wondering what happened. So you can imagine, I mean, even I did it today, that I logged in as an admin, and then I was expecting something that was actually only configured for the test user. And then I was not sure what happened because I have one other developer version. So I thought maybe I've created over there, but the real thing was I have created for the test user. So this is a very common day-to-day things that you will also able to encounter, but make sure that whenever you are logged in, double verify, triple verify that how are you logged in, because as an admin, you can not only log in as admin, but also you can log in as a user. And sometimes you can see different options as logged in as a user versus admin because of the virtue of the profile, which is set along. All right. So the next item we have is called, and again, just to give a quick review about record types. So here are different options for record types, business processes, pick list values, layout. Oh, one thing, I'm sorry, I totally forgot about it before we move there. So let me show you that one other option. Um, so when we go to the record types and when we, so what happen is you will able to see what, so whenever you create a record type and you go back to your record type, any fields in that, for example, you have, let's say 10 fields, right? Any fields which has different options or pick list value, they all start coming up over here. Okay. So in our case, if we go there, fields and relationship, let's count how many fields are there which are pick list. So one pick list, two pick list, three pick list, right? So all these three pick list will actually come up over here in record types automatically. And for example, this is record type called residential. And what I can do is I can go to, first of all, let's start with the property type. I can edit. And for the residential, I have chosen already here residential. But for example, it can show me both. But I know that for residential, I need only residential option. So I will show that, I will change that and save it. So now what I did is for residential, residential record type, I go to property type and I choose residential as a selected value because this is the only value I should see in a drop down when I choose a property record type, which is residential. Okay. And same thing when I go back to another subtype, property subtype, if I edit, I will see all the 6 fields like this over here, like this. By default, it will be probably like this. And then I'll say, okay, what are the values that I need for residential is house, apartment, and condo. So what I'm gonna do is office. I will remove the office from here, move it to available value, shop, remove it, warehouse, remove it. So only selected values that I need here is house, apartment, and condo, and I save it. And when I go to the actual record, so now if I go back to my actual record in Z properties, you will see that because this one is for, okay, what, because again, I go back and log in as a main user, so you don't see the option. But if you remember, if I can go back and log in as the test user, then you will see that. I can show you very quickly.
So basically, you manually update the drop-down list for
Exactly.
residential
So you
and
manually update the drop down list. So for example, now if I go to Z properties, and here you see both options, right? So this is the other one. But even in the residential, let's go to residential. And here in the property type, I am only see residential. And in the sub property type, I only see these 3. So you will ask, where are they being controlled from? So these are controlled from the record type. And again, just to make it more easy, if I go back to the other app, which is for separate for each one, which is here. And then here, if I create new, because here it is assigned only one. So here, if I go property subtype, I would actually remove the property type at all because I know that this is for residential. So I remove that and I only show the property type which are associated with the residential. And where are you controlling which 3 will show up? From the record type and the option that I just showed you, that you can choose whatever you want for that particular record type. Okay, so this is again a very important thing, because when you have different pick list values, you choose to show the pick list value according to the type of record type that you have. Again, as I said, in silver, gold, and platinum, let's say you offer different services. Let's say there are like 9 different services. And if you are silver, you only receive 3 services. So you can turn on 3 services. If you become gold, you can have 6 services. So in gold record type, you can show 6 services. And if you become platinum, then you move all the services in available. And for that record type, you will see all the services, and a person can have access to all the options. So just to show you the options, and again, uh, uh, whatever pick list values are available in that particular object, they all show up automatically. So you don't need to do anything. They will all available automatically. But what you need to do is you need to select based on your requirement. So that was one item which I forgot to mention. Any question from the pick list values? Any question from pick list value? Are we good? Okay, so I'm back as an admin. I can just quickly show you one more time, and then we will move to the next topic. So here, if I go to page fields, anything which has pick list values of 1, 2, 3, they all actually show up in a record type. If I go to either of them, you will see all. So this one I'm not showing it right now because it is for some other purpose. But anything which has a pick list value, it will actually show up. Right now, these two were kind of related with what we are doing. So they all, I show you, you can edit them. If I go back to the other one, I'll see here as well, all 3, you can choose it accordingly as per your requirement. And make sure if it is active, then only that record type will work. If you do not have that record type active, like here you can see both of them are active, but if it is not active, then it will not even work and you cannot able to see it. All right, let's move to the next topic that we have today is email templates. So here you will see all the options. Let me see if I covered everything: record types, create field types, profiles, processes, layouts. So same thing, it's just a different view. And so now we have something called email templates. So what is email template? Okay, so again, let's talk about this first. When you purchase anything from Amazon, normally, or any other e-commerce platform, usually you will receive an email, right, saying that thank you for your purchase, and it will list out all the items that you have purchased, right? So let's say you have purchased 3 items uh, for the cost of $980. You will receive an automated email which will list all the items with the prices and says thank you for your purchase, this is the list of your items and this is the total cost, just for your records. Or if you sign up a new website, you will receive a welcome email saying welcome to our website, thank you for sign up, we will see you soon, and it will be there. Now hundreds and thousands of people are signing up and purchasing or doing different operations on these websites, right? So how would these emails go out? Again, if you have, like in the past, when you don't have these automated processes, maybe somebody actually receives the request and manually, maybe manually, either one by one or send a mass email. But when you send a mass email, how would you make sure that you are also addressing to the right person? So when you check your emails, most of them actually say your name as well, maybe your address, maybe what you have purchased. So how would you do that if you are not using any automated functionality? For example, if 100 people have buy items from your website, and you need to send every person based on their last name that, okay, hello Ali, thank you for your purchase, these are the list of your items. If you have any issues, you can call us back on this number, blah, 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 and all that. And then the second email will go to thank you, Sarah, for your purchase, and they have different options. So how would you do that manually? You can, but it's going to be a very cumbersome, and it will take a lot of time. So now all of these processes have been automated. And again, there are different tools that you are using. Again, Salesforce has a very, one of the reasons why Salesforce become what they become, because they take care of all these processes and make them automated. So if you so think about some of the examples that you can have. A welcome email. Anybody who signs up, you send a welcome email and put the name of that person, either a full name or last name. You can maybe put put them maybe if they have signed up for something, you can put some details of that and have a generic welcome, um, welcome log, whatever you want to say in there. Another type can be thank you letter. So again, you can mention the name of that person, some of the verbiage, and then from the sales team or support team or service team. Another could be if somebody is buying something. Another could be if somebody has opened up a ticket. Another, so there are so many examples. So how would you create that? So first thing, what you need is you need to think about email templates. That first of all, why do we need templates? We need templates for the welcome messages, right? Thank you messages, purchase order messages. Any other examples? Sign up messages. Any other options? Any other type of emails that you receive which are maybe automated?
Order cancellation message.
Cancellation messages, right? So some of these are some of the examples. There could be many more. And what we are saying that these are like a very typical, a very explicit type of templates that you can actually combine together, and then what we can call them as templates, right? So it is basically we can create a welcome message template, right? We can create a thank you message template. We can create a pre-order template. We can create a sign up template. We can create a cancellation template, right? So we can create a template, save it, and each template can have um, user specific fields, right? So this is the keyword. Why? Because now not only we can create a generic template, but also we can specifically provide the information for each user based upon their information and where that information is coming from that particular record. So for example, if I purchase 3 sets of equipment from Amazon. So first of all, I created my name, username, ID. So I created my credential on the site. Then I purchased 3 items. Then I have that record which will say, okay, these 3 items purchased by my first name, last name, my address, my card information, my total cost, all of those fields are there, right? And then there's a list of product that I've purchased. So all that information is already available in my record. But what I want is not only I can add the message that I want, so this message can be generic, right? So this message will be same message for everybody. Thank you for your purchase, for example. That's a generic message for everybody. But then when I say hello, then hello is the, let's say if I'm saying from last name, hello, last name. And then when you say thank you team, so that's generic. And also let's say if I want to add your total purchase is equal to total amount. So total amount is the second field that I want to use, and that field value is different for each person. So if I purchase something for X amount of dollars, the next person has different, third person, those two fields will be different for each person. But if I create a template, this template will actually have a generic message, and any number of fields that we are looking for, templates, so specific fields plus a generic message. Is everybody clear on that? Okay, and that will basically rotate for all of them. So it's very straightforward, and at least from the concept point of view, I hope everybody understand what it means. Now we can talk about what are the different types of templates, right? So there are two main types, first of all, right? We have lightning, and then we have what is the other type called? Classic. Okay, so in actual classic, there are further four different types of templates, right? In classic, there is more generic one type, but you can use both of them interchangeably. But mostly complicated ones are still in classic. I think they're still moving in a lot of them in lightning. So the more generic type is light text, HTML with something with what do you call that? HTML with letterhead. Letterhead and just plain HTML. And what was the last one? It was Visual Force. Okay, so what is the difference between them, right? So text, as the name suggests, it's a basically a simplest form of template. More and more advisable. Why? Because these days most of the people open up their emails on mobile devices. If your email is very text heavy with a letterhead with HTML, sometime if you don't have a good coverage, that email never load up. So from the experience point of view, I know it looks fancy. You can have a nice HTML with a letterhead, but sometimes if you don't have a good coverage, that not even load up. And then you can have a simple HTML without a letterhead. And then there's something called Visual Force. So Visual Force is more like a custom code email. And why do you need Visual Force sometimes? So let's say you want to send an email where you need a lot of information from different objects. You need information which even needs to do some extra calculations. And a lot of complex information that you need to show, then you can actually create a fully customized coded based, like a Visual Force is a language that Salesforce use, a Visual Force page based let template, and then you can use it, which is very very customized.
Is Visual Force like equivalent to HTML, or it's completely different?
The difference is a Visual Force is like they use Apex language. So the Apex is the language of Salesforce, which is kind of similar to like a different variant from Java language.
Like it's a script, like it's a JavaScript,
Yes,
I guess.
it's a JavaScript, right? So
Okay, okay.
you can use the Apex language, create a Visual Force. Visual Force is the more like a display, like a Bootstrap or something type of language. It's more of a physical appearance, because again the template is more like a physical item, right? So Bootstrap or CSS is more like the how you create the website, how they appear, where the context will go in a very particular format and whatnot. And then you can do some minimal um, calculations and things of that sort. So it's more like a Visual Force is more like a CSS or a Bootstrap type of a language where you can able to display information, because template is nothing but a display. So you are displaying information in a very particular order. How does it appear? You can have some flashy. So you may have seen some emails where when it opens, it has some videos running, it has some background which is flashing, sale, 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 maybe it has some audio and this and that. So all of that complex items, then you probably need the Visual Force page that you can do whatever you want, but then you need to have a developer who can develop the Visual Force template for you.
Right. These test accounts, like we have, I mean, they are able to send actual emails.
Yeah, of course. They're
And
limited. They are limited. For example, I think you can send, I don't know, 15 or 20 emails per day. But if you have actual licensed one, then you can send thousands and hundreds of thousands of emails.
right.
So it all depends. And I think I don't know if I have that page open, but again, if you go to the page, like here, uh, I think I was looking at it the other day. How many emails can you send actually? What the question exactly question that you're asking. So see mass email limitations, for example. So here you said the single and mass email limitation, blah blah blah. So here. So additionally, your org can send single emails to maximum 15 email addresses per day, but that is only for what type of license do you have, right? But I mean, if you are using the actual license one, then the limitation is different.
And one more question: do you have an option like for the user, once it's displayed on the inbox and provide option either to open up as HTML or as Visual Force or something like that. User can choose how you like to see the email.
Um, what you can do is, I'm not sure if you can allow users to choose, but maybe, I mean, I haven't done that, but I'm thinking that you can have something like, again, I don't know if that is controlled from Salesforce or some other third party tool do you need, but I know there is a functionality like when we create some websites, so and we are sending the emails or something like that, then there was an option that you can send a heavy HTML email based on the internet speed of the receiver. So if the speed is good, you can show the HTML, and if the speed is low, you can show the base HTML template. So even in Salesforce, they have option that if the speed is bad or for some reason, you can only show the text option, and then you can do that. So I think it's not based upon the user to choose. It normally driven by some sort of KPIs, like for example, if your internet speed is very slow, or so you can see the text version. But if you are on a regular Wi-Fi, or if your speed is good, then you can see the
So the Salesforce logic decide that, right?
yeah, Salesforce. you I mean, there might be some ways, I don't know personally, but there could be some options. Or even if Salesforce cannot control that directly, I'm sure you have some other add-on applications that they can control, but you can, I mean, in Salesforce, it will give you, what I know for sure is you have different capabilities that you can create different. For example, for the same welcome message, you can create a text version, and you can also create a very heavy visual force version, right? Now you need some sort of way that user can choose, and you can send both of them and user can choose. I'm sure there's some way that you can do that. I don't know on top of my head how you can do that, but there should be some way you can able to either choose it when you're sending it, or based on the some other KPIs, the system will choose which one to show. I'm sure there should be some ways to do that.
Okay, most likely, like one more option I was thinking, like if the email can detect what kind of device is going to open, it's Microsoft uh, operating system or something else, it choose HTML. I don't want to make it more complex, but I'm saying like probably
Yeah, you can. I mean, this is
option.
something that, for example, if you're working on a project and that is your requirement, so these are the things that you need to figure out at that point in time based on the requirements. So for every different functionalities, when you're actually working on a actual project, that is something. For example, what you said is a very good example, that for example, if client is saying that, oh, I want to show different type of format to different clients, then you actually kind of do your own analysis. You can look into different options in Salesforce, what you can provide. If Salesforce cannot do it, you can look into the Salesforce app exchange, and see if there is an already functionality available. If that is not there and you are a developer, maybe you can think about, okay, how can I create something, something like that using the code. So there could be different options, different choices, A, B, C, D. And as a consultant, that is your basically one of the responsibility to figure out that how you achieve whatever the requirements are. So probably you can provide different options to the customer. So let's say you research it and you find an app who can do that, but that will cost you $100 a month, for example, right? So you can say, okay, you can do this, you can achieve this, but it will cost you extra per month or whatever. And then if the client says yes, that's fine, then you can do that. Or if there is a way that you can actually write a code which can take care of it, then you said, okay, I can write a code and I'll take care of it, don't worry about it. So that could be another option. So something like that is something that you need to explore. As I said, most of the functionalities that we are going as an admin, we call it like a cookie cutter solution. They're like a base level functionalities, easy to use, right away you can use it. As soon as you are entering into a territory which is very complex or complicated or customized, then you have to use all the different tools. When I say different tools, meaning you may able to use the built-in functionality, that's option one. Option two is you can always look into App Exchange and see if whatever functionality is required, maybe it is already built in and available in the App Exchange. So you don't need to recreate the wheel, and you can just buy, or some of these apps are free as well. So you can just use them. Number third option is the last resort, is it's not a cookie cutter, it's not available in the App Exchange. Then the third option will be, okay, now I have to develop. And then you can, if you are not a developer, then you talk to your developer and say, okay, this is the requirement, can you able to build this functionality? So then the developer comes in and he can create a custom code using Apex, and able to, if he can able to create that particular functionality, then he will create it by using a code.
All right.
Okay? So basically, just to let you know, pretty much anything that you can think of can be done, but how it will be done, it will be dependent upon what is available. So any option that you say is, okay, can we do this, can we do that, the right answer is yes. But how, that is something depends upon, if it is already built in, then you can use it. If it is available in App Exchange, you can use App Exchange. But if none of those are options, then no worries, you can always create your own functionalities. Okay, and that's why we need developers, right? You will always think about what is the utility of each member. That's where the developers comes handy. So for example, if you want to create a brand new functionality which is not in Salesforce, then that's why Salesforce is a SaaS platform, but it will also allow you to build your own functionality. So you can build a brand new functionality in Salesforce using all the tools, and then you can have that functionality taken care of the customer requirement. All right, so we just talked about 4 different types of uh, templates. So let's quickly look into actual Salesforce where they are. So first of all, let's go to the Lightning template. So if you search for email templates, you will see Lightning email templates and classic email templates. So first look into Lightning because that's more simple. So you can turn on the Lightning email templates from here. And if you want to actually see the template, you have to go to this rubric and say email templates, and you can go to the email template option. So that is not available in there directly. You have to go to the rubric in order to do that. So here it will allow you to create your email lightning template, right? So how do you create an email lightning template? You can click new email template, right? And you can name that. For example, I'll say test welcome template. Entity type, which account it will use. So for example, I want to use it on lead object. Description, welcome template for new leads. Again, there is an option for folders. It is driven by folders. So there are there are multiple folders that you can create. Some of the folders are your own private. And if you only create your own templates and you're using it, you can have your own. Or if there is a shared folders where admin has created some templates, then it is shared across the board and you can choose it. So if I go ahead and select it, so you see there are public email templates. So for example, if your admin has created different templates which can be used across the board, so they will be available over here. So the admin will create some templates and put it in this folder. These are private email templates, so these are different folders that are available shared with me. So for example, one of your colleague has shared a folder that will be here created by me. If you create your own folders, and all folders if they're available, and you can even create your own folders and set up the way you want, but they need to be some sort of folders, because what happens is these templates, the way the security works is based on the folder. So if you create something by me, that is possible that only in your whole org, only you are able to see those templates. But if it is something in public, then it means that everybody can able to see that. And even you can create something and share in public. Maybe you created a very nice template that can be utilized across the board. So you can share it with the public and maybe send out an email saying that, hey, I created a new welcome template. This is the name. Going forward, if you like it, you can use it or whatever, and you can share it with everybody. All right, so you can choose the folder where you want. Then what is the subject? You can say welcome email. Here you can say welcome. So here, remember we said I'm going to put 3 dots here, but here we want to use, let's say, last name, right? So we'll come back to that. So here you can say whatever you want to say. Thanks for sending request and welcome to our company, whatever. I don't know. I'm just typing it in. So whatever you want to say, you can say here, and here you can say regards, sales team. Okay. Now here I want to show them the last name or first name. So where can I pick that up, right? So there's this small insert merge field button. If you click that, it will open up a new modal. In this modal, you can choose different fields that you're looking for. So for example, if you're looking for um, first name, right? We can say insert, and here this field has inserted recipient first name, right? So I'll just remove the dots that I placed there. So this is how, when you say recipient name, it means that whenever or whichever record that you go to and send this, whatever lead is there, the lead first name will come up. And again, just to show you, you can add as many things as one. So for example, you said, I want to add the address of that person, right? For whatever reason, right? So you can go here, you can find the address.
It's on the top.
Address, and you can insert. So it will insert the field. So this is nothing but the field name, right? Nothing specific, but you don't want to remember it, or you don't want to remember the format, just to make your life easier. So this is address is just a text that I input, and this is the name of the field. So 3 braces, recipient dot address. So usually this address is basically coming from the field, and whatever the field name is, this is the name of the field. Same thing, if you want to add the phone number of that particular lead, you can say phone, and you can go here, find the phone, whatever that is, assistant phone, or is there some other type of phone you can add, whatever you have, email, home phone, for example. Home phone will come up, email will come up. So this is all what information we are inputting. Actual, whoever we are sending the email, this is their information, right? So their email address, their phone number, their record, and again, based on, let's say if they purchase something, their purchase amount, everything related to them, whatever is there. So I don't know, where's the email? email, and then you can find whatever you're looking for, right? So you created that, and we call it test welcome template, and we save it. Okay, so this template is viewable. Again, if you need to make some changes, you can always come back and make the changes. You can create more of those, but again, these are available over here, and you can have the list. Now, let me quickly show you how you can use them. So if you go to leads, so you can, for example, we created this for lead object. So if you go to leads, and so there are multiple ways you can use that. So if I go to a particular lead and I just want to send this particular welcome template to him, right? This person, then there is something called activity history. And here you have options for sending an email directly. So I can click on the email, right? From, and this information is already populated. And then here, instead of typing something, I can choose the template. So here, insert merge field, here it says insert or create update template. So I can click on that, and it will show me the list of templates. So remember, we just create this template, test welcome template, and it says inserting this template would override the current email. That's fine. So this template, which I already created in the past, is already populated. Um, Information is there, and then I'll say, okay, go ahead and
Hey, Hurram, question. So these fields, like this email, like these got mapped with the user automatically. I mean, how we are
correct.
mapping?
So for example, this address, right? So
Yeah.
this address is coming from this user because I have selected this user, right? So for example, that he has provided a company name. So that company name, and if I choose the company name, will be mapped for that particular email because I'm calling this one, right? So if I'm sending the email individually, it knows that where are you standing, right? Or if you're sending a mass email, like if I go to the leads, and let's say I want to send to everybody, right? I select everybody, and from here I said send list email, then it will actually choose all the three recipients, right? So it exactly know that what is the recipient, and then based upon that, it will actually choose each person and send the email.
So actually, we select the user first, and then
Exactly.
we,
So you can
okay,
choose one user,
or
like in
multiple
other
users.
case, or you can use a list of like user, like in this case I can send same email to 3 users, but each user email, because we have mapped the information, that will show their own information.
Okay, the names and everything, address
Exactly. So
will
name
update
and
them.
everything,
Right.
because each record has their own information. So we are just mapping it. So in the template, we map that, okay, bring up the name from the name field. So whatever record it goes, it bring up the name, email, phone, number of item purchase, total cost, price, whatever, and then it will populate for one user. Then it goes to the second user, same thing. It has already the mapping, second user, third user, fourth user. So every user will receive an independent email. So for example, I might have already some samples to show you. Um,
Actually, the first
Well,
example you did, it's basically a template, right?
it's just
Like,
a like anything, like a regular template is just how you use inside the Salesforce. Yes,
We can choose multiple users at once.
yes. I just showed you. I can show you again. But yes, you can choose multiple users and send the same template. You can even able to. There's another concept called
At the same time.
at the same time. Yeah, I can show you again. One
Okay.
second.
Okay.
Let me open up the email. This one. Let me show you the email first, and then I'll show you. So see, this one is welcome email. This is type of email. It comes up. So what does it show? So here it says this is just a common email. Let's see. Do I have another one? So here, um, so this one, this Sarah was actually a test email. So basically when it comes, it just takes the first name and show it over here. That's it. So if the same email I send to somebody else named Ali, so this will the same remains the same, but it will say hello Ali, or hello Tom, or hello Zara, or hello somebody else. So this will change according to the user that I'm sending, Now the next question is, can I send to multiple people? Sure. So you can go, for example, let's say we are talking about sending to multiple leads, right? Let's say if I go and check all my leads, right? So I have that many leads, right? So let's say I want to send not all, but maybe 5 of these leads, right? So I can select, okay, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. For example, these 5 people I want to send. So you can select them. And if you go to this drop down, there's something called send list email. So if you select that, then they're already in recipient. These 5 people are already selected. And you can enter the subject. And then here you said, okay, I want to use the template that I've created. So here is an option. So here is a field. So even you can create a new field, like you can even create a temporary template here. Like it's not going to be template, but you can even do the same thing over here. So for example, I want to say welcome, and I can choose the field, right? So I can even choose the field over here. So let's say last name, right? So I can say, okay, last name for lead and insert. So last name is here. And here I says, your cell number is, and I want to insert the cell number for that email. And I can choose the cell number or phone number. And I can say regards. So concept is same. I'll just make sure that you get both the ideas. And then here is a sales team. So same kind of thing, but if I send this, this will not be saved, right? Every time you have to write it. Okay. So now if you want to send the same type of email every time, let's say you do these emails based on individual customers, right? You don't want to send to everybody, just on individual customers. And but inside the email is the same content. You just need to change the name and then obviously the values. Then instead of this, you already have created a template. So you can say, okay, let me use the template. So same thing will here, but the template will be open. So all you do is you can save that, verify and send it. But for example, you create a template, but also let's say you want to add some additional information, you can do that. All the template is doing is actually saving the information that you want for the next time. That's it. And then you can use that so that not every time you have to write up, you don't have to find out what the values and things of that sort. So the concept of the template is you create something, you create a template and just use it and send the information in one shot to multiple people or a single person based upon whatever you are looking for.
Like, can we put condition for just for one person, like in a group, like you select 5 people and I want to
Yeah. So you can,
one
for example,
thing.
I can cancel this. Either you can go to that particular record or just choose this one person and then and say list. So only that person email comes up, see one recipient and send it to one
Okay,
person.
okay.
Or you can go inside, there are multiple ways. You can go inside that particular lead. And I showed you that there is another like open activities. No, like in here.
No, actually, I was asking, like, if I select 5 people and I want to send the same email for 4 people out of 5, and I want to change something for one guy.
Mhm.
So I have to. It looks like I have to do manually for that one guy separately.
Or yes, probably if you need to, let's say you need to add one extra item for that particular guy, then you have to do some manual stuff. So again, the template is normally used when you have to use the
Bulk
same
people.
information and you want to send it to bulk people or even individual, but same type of information. So you create a template. You always have an option to create a
Right.
manual, which I showed you, that if you want to have use the template plus you want to add a manual information, you can do that. Or however, I mean, there's no difference in this one, like how you send an email, right? There's nothing new that I'm teaching you here. Is the same concept. The only difference is if you're sending to a person, like normally when you send to a person, you send it individually, you put the last name every time, you have to input the thing. But now we are dealing with 100 or maybe thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of users, right? So how we can expedite that professionally. So here, right now, I only gave you one option. So this, whatever we learned so far, so this is called manual email option, right? So right now we are manually doing it, right? Okay. Now, what about if I ask you that automatically this email template will go out? Okay, so as soon as a lead send an email, automatically there is an email that goes out, right? How would you do that? So that's where you can use templates. That's where it becomes even more better, right? So for example, you can say if any time there is a case is created, and the example is if a case is created from website and automated email is sent stating the case number and case number, callback number, and greetings. Okay, so this is an example where you can use a template. So you set up a template. So what you can do is basically you set up a case response template. And what are the some of the fields that you can use in there is case number. I'm sorry, before even case number, you should have the user name, case number, and generic greeting message. So you can combine these three information, create a template, and you can call that template as case template, right? And then every time, and then you automate the process, right? So every time or there is a there is somebody create a case from your website. For example, the case could be the product that I've purchased is not working properly, I want to return the product, or I need some help, or anything. So in that case, this automatically email will send out, and nobody sending this email, it will automatically goes out, is stating that okay, we got your case, this is your case number, this is your name, and we will get back to you in 24 hours. And then that case will be assigned to a particular user. So we will learn even today, if we get a chance, that how the assignment case will happen. But for now, that is where you can use the templates. In this example, you don't do anything, you don't touch anything. Automatically cases are coming, automatically emails are going out, automatically cases are coming in, automatically cases are going out. Now let's say when you got the case and you are the salesperson or you are the service person, you got that case, you resolve it, and after resolution, you need to send out the email with all the details. For example, if he's looking for, maybe he needs some training. So you have an email, you need to send out an email with the email, with the training manual, or an email video, that so that you can use it. So then as a user, you can basically log in to, let's say if it is still a lead, you can log into that lead and you can create an email. And again, for example, in this case, again, we have a template for sending out such emails. You can choose the template, and maybe you can add some extra information here. So for example, here is the uh, here is the tutorial. Okay, so you still use all that information, and then here you can attach a tutorial file here, and then you can send the email like you normally send out email. But here the main idea is you are also, if you need, you can use template. If you don't need it, you cannot use a template, you can send out email. If you have some automated processes, you can use the template, so that that automated processes you use a template and send out, and then they will take care of it. But something more specific, you always have an option to send out independent emails as well. And although all of those email will be targeted over here in the system. So I'm just doing it random. Does it clear your concept?
At one point we talk about groups, some particular groups, and we probably name them. So if I like to send a particular email to that particular group, so we can select those groups. I know we did through checkboxes, but I'm talking about if I just assign one email to like 50 people in a
So
group.
one thing you need to understand that every time when we talk about like groups or queues, remember those queues were actually for internal users. Okay, these emails you are sending out to your end users, right? So those queues and the groups that we created inside, they are our internal team members. So let's say you're working for Bank of America, and Bank of America, in your team, you have 10 people. So let's say you create a group of 10 people inside the company. But normally, all of these functionalities we are using for the end customers, for our actual users who are accessing our website, of our Bank of America website. So they could be thousands and millions of customers. That's where we are actually using this. Inside the team, I'm not too much worried about it. I can just send via my Outlook email as well. I don't really care about it. I can send it via email. We are really we are really dealing with our end users. You know what I'm saying? So end users are basically the people. So for example, leads, right? So these leads, none of them actually belong to your team. They are outside users or customers. So if I turn on all the open leads, these are your customers, right? If I go to a contacts, so these are all your end users contacts. So this is not your internal team. This is not your queue. So when we are sending emails, most of the time, we are normally saying that we are sending email to our clients, our customers, not within the team. Within the team is a small thing. You can even create a group in your own Outlook and send it out. That's not a big problem because it's your internal team. But we are talking about automated processes for the end user. So for example, anytime if somebody send an inquiry for Bank of America about their account, then there is an automated email saying that we got your case and we will get back to you in 24 hours. So that template is actually can be sent out to hundreds and millions of thousands of people over the span of multiple months or days or years, right? So that template, that's what we are talking about, right? So sending, how you can use these templates to automate and automatically send the emails to the end customers. Okay, so that's how we normally use it. And again, within that, if you want to make groups, so how do you make groups is you can create the different views, right? So you can, for example, if you want to have a groups of people, for example, these are my CEOs, right? So you can actually create a new view here and you can say, okay, this view, sorry, this is creating a so you can create new views and basically you can have different views and then from there you can check on all your CEOs or you can uncheck and you can send that group. So you can do grouping, but when I say grouping is more like you can do like a different views and you can group the end customers. But I just want to make sure that there's no mixing up between the queues and groups that we have for internal users versus external. So these are all your external users.
So basically, it's more focused on
Exactly. So these are all
customer.
your end clients, right? So your end clients, yes, you can still make groups, but those groups are not for these users, right? These are not Salesforce users. These are your end customers.
All right. Yeah.
But that's a very good question because, um, and again, a lot of time, and that's always good that you're asking these questions because a lot of times, even I was initially when I was working, I get confused between users and end users because there are some things which we actually perform for internal team and there are things that we perform for external users. So when we are sending templates, when we are doing automated response, we are not doing it for internal teams, we are actually doing it for our customers. So this is not really for there. But let's say if the case comes in and we need to assign that case between our team, now we are talking to the users, meaning users between our support team, right? So let's say if out of 10, 5 people are dedicated to respond to all the inquiries they are getting in, and the inquiries can come up from the end user. There could be thousands and hundreds of thousands of end users, but you have 5 people. So now we are saying that, okay, this queue will have 5 users in there, and who are those users? They are support users. And then the case will comes up and one user can go grab it, or you can set up some other automated setup where if, for example, if the case comes from New York, so you have a person, Ali, who will take care of all the cases from New York. Automatically, it will assign it to him. And if the case is from Virginia, it will assign it to Sarah. If the case is from DC, assign it to this. Or you can have a setup where if the amount of the property is more than 100,000 and less than this 500,000, assigned to A user, B user. So we will actually learn it, something called assignment rules, if we get a chance today, but if not, then we'll learn in the next session. All right, so very quickly go back to our initial so we just look into the types of lightning templates. Now we look into our traditional templates which are available in classic mode. So email templates, because maybe you might need to use classic, you might need to use new, so you need to know both. So here you see that there are many templates already available, and you can able to use them as is. So for example, if I open up one of the template, let's say new customer email, okay, let's open up. So you can see that this is what type of template is that. This is I saw it somewhere, it says so it's a Unicode text template. I think if you go outside, you can see that. Um, so this is the template type. So these are all text template, and they also, I created a HTML template. So if I go to one of the text templates, for example, new customer email, what they have done here saying that there, the contact first name, right? Like what I was doing. All of us as your company name are glad to have account name, right? So first name of the client, account name of that particular client. As a customer, I would like to introduce myself as your account manager. Should you have any question, feel free to call me at user phone. So user phone is now basically, see that this is contact, but this is a user. So user is a person who is sending the email. So this is the Salesforce user. So if I send the email, my phone number will come up here, and I can, let's say if I have 5 people who are working, so those come up, and the user email. So who is user? User is a Salesforce user. Between me, you, or our team is a Salesforce user, and this is who? This is a account, or this is the end user. You can also contact our company at the following number, some base information, best regard, username. So again, this username, if we have 5 different users inside the Salesforce, so it will go based on, if I send my name, if my colleague send their name, if another person send with my team their name, but this is the name of the end user. And same thing, you save that, and anytime you use it, automatically all the things are there. It will just populate the information based upon who you are sending and who is sending. So if I send it, wherever it says username, my name will come up, and my phone will come up, and my email will come up. And whoever I'm sending to, their first name will come up, and their account name will come. Simple, right? And how to create some of these, if I go back, is the same way I showed you. You can go and say new template, and in this one will give you all the 4 options. So first one is text. Again, let's see the text very quickly. If you go to the next, is exact same way how we did it in the past. So there, and then how you add the information is just a slightly different. So here, if you want to add the information, you can get it from the fields over here. So just a different way, but the same information. For example, you want from which object do you want? So for example, I want it from offers. And then what is the field that I want? I want the name of the buyer, right? And this is the formula. So all I do is basically just copy this and paste it over here. Same way, just a different way of accessing it, comma, thank you, whatever. And then I can choose whatever fields I'm looking for. Okay. Same way, just a different way. So this is classic. So you see it looks a little bit different, a little bit old view. In the new one, which is lightning, same information. Instead of this, we have this small button at the bottom, which you click and you can able to select it. Just a new interface, but the functionality exact the same. Even the name of the object will exactly the same. It's just the way how you access and the look and feel. So this is the text, which is very similar to what we already looked into. I can show you some others as well. Um, so for example, if I choose HTML with letterhead, uh, you can go there. It will ask you to create the template name, and it will ask you to choose your template, subject, everything. So here you can create a new template. You can choose the email layout, and then here it will allow you to make the changes. Again, this is something that you can learn even later on. I mean, right now main thing is you understand, and most probably you will be creating most of the text templates, or you will be using lightning, because as I told you before, most of the people are using the lightning, and they use the lightning templates. It has all the latest and greatest features. But if, for example, your client is such that they want to use a typical letterhead, and this is the format letterhead, then you need to format that. You need to learn some of these formatting and all that, which is probably not directly related to Salesforce, but just a generic formatting technique. You can choose the color, you can import your logo, you can do all the good stuff, and then you can create a template and a letterhead, and then you can have a very dedicated HTML with the letterhead. And then there are some options for without letterhead as well. So the third option is without using classic letterhead. And if if you're a developer and if you know the coding, then you can actually create a code, and then the code will come up here, and then you can actually start typing the code for the visual force. So process is same, just for the practice purposes. I would probably recommend just to stick with the text for now. You can even use the custom HTML without letterhead, and you can even try with the letterhead just to see how it looks. You can import any logo, just download any file and use that as a logo, change the color so that you can get an idea how does it look, just to make it more fancy. Anything for the templates? Okay. Might be Mailchimp. Yeah. So there are many. Somebody just Ali just mentioned that you can use Mailchimp. Yes. So there are many tools that you can use. If I go to Mail Exchange, and you guys can also should time to time go and check out the Salesforce App Exchange, so you can get an idea how does it look like. So for example, here, if I want to search for email, so all of these are different tools for Outlook integration, for email to case, inside, or you can say, for example, if you want to send mass emails or something. There are so many templates, so many apps that you can choose. So if I click on any app, usually what they do is basically they have some tutorials. So this is an app. They will tell you, is it free? So if you want to watch their demo, you can see that. And those. Hi, and welcome to this quick overview. So they will actually able to integrate in Salesforce. Again, you need to know how to integrate them. They will also tell you, is it a free or they have some pricing. They will normally tell you the pricing over here as well somewhere. Um, or you can go to their website for more detailed pricing. So here, for example, this one is free, this is free, this is free, this is paid, this is paid. So I mean, again, there are many free apps, there are paid apps based upon whatever you're looking for. You can choose. So there's a full market for Salesforce apps, and a lot of companies actually dedicatedly create apps for Salesforce. So that's their business model. Like, how so many companies create apps for Android and iOS. Same thing. There are a lot of companies in Salesforce ecosystem, and their main bread and butter is to create the apps and sell their apps on app exchange in Salesforce. And some of these apps are very expensive. Some of so last week I was, just to give you an idea how much these apps sometimes cost. So I was checking in two apps last week for a client. So they are looking for, so there's something called duplicate issue. So duplicate is something, for example, when you create leads or when you have contacts, when you create accounts. So some of them have duplicates item. For example, if I'm a donor, I go to the website, I create an account. So their unique identification is the email. So if I use my first email, I will create an account. Now, next time I go and use a separate email, then I may end up creating another account. And third time I go and create another email, third account. So sometimes that's how a lot of people, we know that they are same account, but they have used a different email address or something else, and they have creating separate accounts. So this is called duplication. So the information is there, but it's a duplicate record. So in order to control duplicates, there are some features inside the Salesforce, and there are some more advanced features which are not in Salesforce. So different companies has created different apps that can take care of the thing. And then I was checking one of the app, and they cost about 5,000 a year, right? So 5,000. So you can divide that by monthly. So about $400-500 a month just for using that. And they just created for once, and that's it. Now they're just selling it, just making sure it works well. And then there is another app that actually do the backup of your data. Again, there is some basic features in Salesforce which can do backup, but again, if you want some advanced features, do this, do that, then people have maybe already created something, and that actually cost 12,000 per year. So based on the number of records and whatnot, so that actually costs $1,000 per month. But again, if you have a client who spend hundreds and thousands of millions of dollars, for them it's not a big deal. So they are okay to buy, because again, if I'm actually creating that, I will also maybe end up charging more than that money. So it's not a generic feature in Salesforce. So let's say if I'm a developer and I spend 200 hours and multiply by my hourly rate, so that might actually cost more money than just to buy a ready-made app that can do that, and that may be very advanced, well used, tested, a lot of people are using it. So it will be a quick way to doing that. So when you're actually doing the implementation, you will come across that a lot of times that you will be using a third-party app. Why? Because they already configure everything. Maybe they created some advanced feature using the code, and then they have a ready-made application available that can directly perform a lot of uh, custom functionalities that you want for your system. So one way is, okay, I don't want to spend that money. That's fine. Then you have to have your developer or your admin actually work that many hours to create something like that. And or you have an option that you can adopt app and then you can use it. However, if you don't have a knowledge, like if you're not a Salesforce consultant, you cannot install the app either. It's not as simple as I can just go click install and that's it. No, it is still needs some Salesforce consulting requirement. Again, it's not going to take that many hours. So for example, if you're creating a deduplication, let's say you may need 200 hours to create a new functionality, but if you use the app, maybe you only spend 20 hours. So that can be a difference between 20 hours and 200 hours in terms of developing something from scratch or just using something which is already available, but you have to pay maybe in some cases, in most cases, in some cases it could be a free application as well.
So who take this decision whether we go for buy or develop
Client.
normally?
You can provide both the options, and then it's up to, because they have to pay at the end of the day, right? So
Okay.
because let's say if you said, okay, I need to buy this Conga composer and it will cost you $100 a month, right? And then let's say we calculate the budget for next 5 years, so you can multiply that by yearly by 5 years. So you can say, okay, in 5 years it will cost you X amount of dollars. What do you want? Do you want to pay that? Or if we develop and our team have a capability to develop, it will cost you, we will take 200 hours to develop, 50 hours for testing, 50 hours for deployment. So 300 hours we charge, let's say $80 an hour. for this and for testing and everything. So it will cost you X amount of hours. So what do you want? So it's up to the customer to decide. But in both cases, they will end up spending money. Either we develop or either we use one of these apps. But customer will decide which route to pick. Right? Unless that functionality is already available as a cookie cutter. So for example, if we need to send a mass email using the Salesforce functionality, right? So that doesn't take anything extra. So 0 hours, 0 extra hours. You already set up the functionality. The functionality is already there in Salesforce, and the user can use it, right? Sending an email, sending mass email. But again, if you said, okay, I want to send a mass email, then I want to track them, then I want to resend based upon whoever not opened up, then I want the ones who did not open up a second email, and then your choices are adding up. I want this, I want that. So if you're having a very customized request, then it may or may not be supported directly in Salesforce with the basic functionality. Then again, there are two choices. Then either you choose one of the app which is already available and pay the monthly cost, or you can hire a Salesforce developer team who can develop and pay one-time cost, and then you don't need to pay the monthly cost. So it's up to you. In most of the cases, if it is a very big organizations, they want it very customized according to their need. So they have a luxury of spending money, and they have their own developers. So they said, okay, no, we want to develop the way we want it. Again, they might end up spending more money, but that's how they want to do it. But it's the same thing like if you want to buy a custom woofers for your car, like they are available, you can choose off the market, it may be cheaper, but you said, no, I want this dimension, this chrome color with a combination of gold dust and all that. Of course you can get it, but you will get it like 10 times more, and somebody has to build it custom for you, and it will cost you x amount of extra dollars. So it's same thing in Salesforce. You can use customization, you can choose off the shelf, you can choose the basic functionalities in Salesforce, and all of these will be depending upon your team. But again, how would you provide all these options if you don't even know yourself? So that's why you need to hire a good team. They know all these options. They know give you different options to the customer. They can also provide the benefits of the different options. So it's not necessary that if you are actually spending a more money and creating something on your own is also end up having a better product, because nobody has tested it. You don't know, it might be a crappy product. But for example, if you buy a product off the shelf from the app exchange, maybe 100,000 people have already used it, they have put their reviews, good or bad, and based on that you already know that so many people have used it, this is a recognized product, why not just buy that? So it's again, at the end of the day, the decision is from the client because he's the one who's spending the money. But you can provide all the options, all the good and bad, and then leave it up to the client how they want to use it. All right, so some extra information, hopefully that would be helpful. And then here are some different steps. I actually walked you through all the different steps in there. The next item is workflow rules, but actually it's a more detailed topic, so I'm going to skip that for today. I will just jump directly into, oh, I'm sorry, where is that? So email, workflow. Okay, so we can cover workflow, and let's see if we have some extra time to go to the next one. So workflow is, um, um, what is workflow, right? So workflow, as the name suggests, that if you have a particular set of automation, then workflow will comes up. Okay, so let me give you some examples. So for example, we just discussed that we want, and again, workflow can be internal, can be external, right? Most of the times is internal, but it could be external as well, right? Based on whatever you're using. But you just need to understand the concept. So for example, you have a situation where if your property is worth more than $1 million, there should be an email sent out to the manager and just provide him some details of this new property. Okay, this is one request. Now, how you can do that manually you can do that if you are the person if you are in the sales team, you can just send an email to your manager and say that, okay, I have this property which is worth more than $1 million, but you want to make sure that this process is automated, so you can use workflow and you can trigger an email anytime if a particular condition is met. So anytime if you have A condition, B condition, C condition met, you can take some actions, right? So basically what we are saying here is what we are saying here is that we have um, um, we want to do we have a certain criteria, right? And based on the criteria I want to take an action. Okay, so what kind of action could be send an email, right, or update a field, right, or I can use and assign a task, right? Task assignments is something like I can assign a record to somebody. I can say, can you look into this and provide approval or whatever, and then I can also initiate process using API. So this one we can talk about later. This is, for example, if you have a external system, right? You are connected with another Oracle system, and you want to take some action, send some information or update a field. That's where it is used. The most commonly used is email and update a field. Email, as the name suggests, that for example, whatever the criteria is met, when the criteria is met, send an email to ABC. You can send an email to your colleague, you can send an email to your manager, you can even send an email to your customer for whatever reason, right? Update a field is, for example, if the property, remember we have a formula field where if you have a certain number, update a field. So same thing is can be workflow meaning that if you have a property of certain cost, a certain value, then you can give a discount, but you can run it through um, workflow as well. Why? Because or you can update a field if if it is discounted already or something like that. I mean, anything that a field needs to be updated based on certain criteria. So if the criteria is met, you want to update a field, provide a new value, remove a value, add a new value, provide a formula, you can do that, whatever you want, right? So basically based on certain criteria, and the criteria is normally looks like if this then that. So this then is basically nothing but action, right? So that is the action. So if whatever the criteria, if it's true, then you can take multiple actions. Okay, so this is again like a business process automation, and we can see how does it work. But do you get an idea what does it really mean? Like what is a workflow? Okay, so let's check it out. So this is, if you click workflow, you have something called workflow actions. So we just talked about email alerts. So this is email field update. You can do email update. Outbound messages. This is something like if you have an API connected or something, you can call that outbound messages, or send actions, which is like a different task that you can assign. And then tasks like different actions you can assign. And then there's a task. So there's, I think, one more, send actions. So you can also do actions. And this is basically called outbound messages. And what it means is if you have a connected systems, you can send a message to outbound systems as well.
Using web services.
Web services, yeah, exactly. Good example. All right, so how does it work? First step is go to workflow rules. Okay, so I'll keep typing as well. And what are the two ingredients we need? One is some sort of criteria, right? Second is some sort of action. Everybody good? Simple. So we need two things. Again, when you log in for the first time, you need to make sure you read all that. Don't skip that. So here it will tell you what is workflow. Workflow automate the following types of action based on your organization process. What are the actions? Tasks, email alerts, field updates, outbound messages, right? For example, workflow can assign a follow-up task to a support rep 1 week after the case is updated. So what are we saying here? They're not only actions, but there could be time dependent, right? What it means is you can either do it right away, or you can schedule. Okay. So we just introduced one more item that either so these workflow not only do it right away, because remember when we talk about a formula that you are giving a discount. So discount, as soon as the number comes up right away, it will update the field. But let's say you have a requirement, then if something is true, then this field will be updated after 7 days. That you cannot do it just by formula, right? Although the formula is needed. So let's say you said if a client signs up and if he is more than $1 million and if he stay with us for at least 1 month, we will give them a discount of 15%, something like that. This is your business flow. Okay. So or you can say like let's say if you're maintaining an Uber Salesforce instance, and the requirement is if a particular customer takes 10 rides, after the 10 rides, you can provide them 15% discount for his 11th ride, something like that. So it's a time dependent. Or you can say that if you take 10 rides for the next 5 days, you can able to have discount for 15%. Something like where you can give a discount right away, you can do that, which is you can select right away options. Or if you want to schedule it for after 1 day, after a week, after whatever time frame, number of hours, you can do that as well. So that also we are learning from here. Send sales management an email alert when sales rep qualify a large deal. I just gave you an example. You are a sales rep, you receive $1 million listing, and as a business process, you need to make sure your manager is aware that now you're working on $1 million listing. So an automated email will send out to the manager. You will not send the email. As soon as the listing price is more than $1 million, and automatically email will go out to the manager and will say that Khurram is working on $1 million listing. This is the detail, something like that. Change the owner of the field in a contact 3 days before it expires. So for example, I am working on account. I am the owner of that particular record, right? 3 days before the record, before it expires, they want one person who actually makes calls to every user who is not um, uh, uh, basically signing up for the new contract. It will be assigned to that particular person, so that that person will now make a call and make sure that he can do that. So the record ownership will be transferred to another person on a very timely fashion. So 3 days before the contract expire, my record will be assigned to another person, and that person, let's for as an example, he makes call to make sure. So normally I'm sure that you might have received some calls that, hey, your HBO subscription is expiring in 1 week. We are offering another, so maybe you can offer another deal. So we are offering another deal, or do you want to continue? Or for most of these things like Netflix, either you receive an email or you receive a call. So let's say if somebody needs to make a call, then you can actually assign it to a new user, and they can, they have a list of users that they need to make a call or something like that, whatever your process is. Trigger an outbound API. So this is something somebody says that you have, an outbound message that you need to send out using the API. You can initiate that. That can also be done. Each workflow rule consists of few items, criteria that cause workflow to run the rule. So criteria. So first thing first, criteria. Immediate action that execute when a record matches with the criteria. I just told you right away, or a better word for that is immediate action. And then another option is the time dependent action, which is, okay, do this, but after some time. So you can choose between these two, either immediate or time dependent. So if you want to make a more formal wording, so this is immediate, and this is time dependent. I don't know what could I have done if there is no auto spell check. Anyway, so this is your just a quick introduction about the workflow. Let's get in and create a workflow. So I just created one workflow. Never mind. So again, the workflow is also active, so you need to make sure active. So let's review this one and then see how it works. So what is the criteria? So let's edit the criteria first. So or you know what, let me go back and create a new one, so it would be much easier. Okay, so first thing first is, what is the object? As always, let's select the object first. Let's say Z property. Okay, next is what is the name of your rule? So this is test rule cost greater than 100. I think I already have a rule, so I will give a really high number. So 100, or let's say I'll give higher than 800,000. Okay. So right now this is just the name. I just give a name so that I can remember what rule is that. Okay, so this is critical. Okay, this is the main evaluation criteria, and I can note it down here as well. Okay, so if you understand that, then it's pretty straightforward. So there are three options. Created. What it means by created? So it means that this workflow rule will only happen when you create the record for the very first time. So what it means is one-time action, right? So only one time it happened. Now, let's say you go back and you add it. So for example, you list a property for $1 million, and then this rule needs to click in. It will click in. Next day, you got another property which is only 600,000. So you enter that, this rule will not click in. But you added that and you said, oh, by mistake, I added 600,000, but it's supposed to be 100,000. So you added the record and update that to 100 and million and 200,000. But this time, this rule will not work because we have chosen only evaluate when it is created. Okay. So the client requirement is no, it will also calculate whenever it's even edited, it's the same. So we can choose another option called created, and every time it is added, right? So not only created, but plus every time it's edited. It means that every time, either is the first time if it is meeting, but if you added that and change it, then every time it will evaluate that. And there's another option called created, and anytime it's edited to subsequently meet criteria. So what does that mean? Anybody knows about what is the third option mean? And how is it different from the second option? It is also used in like other fields as well. Okay, so let me give you an example so that you can understand it. So when I say created a record price is 600,000. Okay. And the rule was, remember, it is supposed to be $1 million, right? Workflow rule will execute if you have choose the option 1 created. Okay. If you have chosen the second option, will it work? Yes, because created is everywhere. So this, when you create for the very first time, either you choose option A, B, C, it will at least run once and check if the rule is positive or not, like if it is satisfying the criteria or not. Every time it will work. Okay. Now next step is you edit the record and the value is now 100 million 200,000. Okay. So evaluated on all three options. So whatever option you choose, it will be evaluated. Now in the second one, if says created every time it is edited. So for sure, option 2, because if you select option 2, it will be evaluated. What about option 3? Will evaluate or not? So it says every time subsequently edited, meaning if the condition is false and then it becomes true, then it will also evaluate. So need to make sure that the condition is false and then it subsequently. So this will also, option 3 will also kick in, not the option 1. And in case if you have now, let's say you change from edit the record and the value is now 1,500,000. Then only if you have selected option 2, which is every time it is edited, it will again run and check if the condition is changed or not. But if you have choose the option 3, it will not run because the condition is already true before, and it will not check if unless the condition becomes false, then it will actually make the changes and run the criteria. So for example, if you want to limit the times the workflow is running, like if you have a requirement where every time if you add it, make sure that it is testing and it is updating, then you choose the second option. You only want that it is, if it is goes into the wrong territory, meaning that it is like condition is wrong, and then if the condition is true, then choose the option 3. So this is almost like a delta. If you have a delta, if you goes into the not satisfying the condition and then satisfy the condition, in that case, it will update the record. But if it is already in the condition, then if you change the condition, then it will not even evaluate and not gonna calculate the conditions. All right, is it clear? I know it's a little confusing, but is it still making any sense?
So for the third option, if value change to 600,000, so that triggers.
So if you first change the value lower than the criteria, so if you make it $600 or 600,000, anything lower, at that point in time when you make the edit, it will not trigger. But now if you change, now the value is lower than the criteria, but now when you check, now if you change it again more than $1 million, then it will click. But if you have edit meaning every time it will check. But the third option only check when you are in criteria is not meeting versus criteria is meeting. So the third option will limit the amount of times the workflow is actually executed.
Okay, that means if it's satisfied first time and you change, it won't evaluate next time. I mean, on the higher limit.
And let's say if you want to execute it again, then you can actually, for example, below like wrong the criteria and then again set the criteria, then it will change the value again.
Okay.
So you can practice it. So first you can just created one and test it, play around with the rule, and then you do the every, and then you do the third. It will be very clear to you.
I think the safest option is 2.
Safest option is 2 because in that way, not only you are creating, but every time it is added. So safest option is 2. That's very true. The only drawback is it will execute more time. Your CPU time is there because, I mean, if you are talking about a really good and complicated system, it may have a lot of workflows running or a lot of other systems. So one of the optimization techniques is also to control the processes, right? Right now, again, it makes sense. It is easy. Why not do that? But I'm just letting you the practical reasons why sometimes you need the option 3, because why do you even need this option, right? I mean, this option 2 is good enough. Every time is there, just check it out. That's it. So the reason why option 3 is there also because if you have a lot of processes, it's a very complicated system, and you want to find the locations or areas where you can optimize the system so the system do not go through so many calculations, then you can choose the third. So it will limit the time that it is executing. So that's where you really need it, or if you need to optimize, or you only need it to trigger whenever it's there. So that's where you need it. All right, so condition, again, I'm sure everybody is comfortable is making conditions by now. So let's say asking price, we want greater than, and what is the amount we said? 800,000, 800,000. Right, so this is what we are doing. We are just creating a condition, right? We are not saying do what. So that will come in the next window. So save and next, we provide the criteria. So this is just the criteria and setup. Now we said, okay, remember the second option is after that is you need to say some sort of action. And actions are over here. So let's say we want to create 2 actions. One is I want to send an email. So here I want to send an email alert. Description is alert for property cost greater than 800,000. It's just a description, unique name, property. Now email template, right? We already talked about it. You should have already created a template. Let's say I'm choosing the one that I already created in the past. Then you are saying that who will receive this email, right? So we are saying that this email is again, this is internal. So we can choose either the users, you can choose the roles, you can choose the account owner, case teams, creator, email field. So a lot of options, internal, external. Just for simplicity, we can choose our internal 2 users that we have. And then here you can also add some extra email address if you want to. So I just add another email. If you want to, you can add only 5 extra emails that you need. And then you can say save, right? So I just created one action item. So the action item is right here. Let's create another action item. I want to update a field, okay? Name and price is greater than 800,000. Unique name, description, and what is the field to update? So remember, I've created a field called workflow field update, right? So I create that, use that field, and that field has 2 options, right? Like just 0, or I just put just a drop down. There's just a option saying field updated by the workflow. So if their condition is true, it will populate that field is updated by the workflow. Otherwise, it will be empty. Okay, so simple as that. I'll show you and you can understand it. Save. Okay, so right here, I created 2 action items. One is if the criteria is true, then send an email. Also update a field based on this condition. Okay, So we are good. And now you need to see if this workflow is even active or not. So if I see that this 800,000 is not even active, right? So right now is not active. So if you want to activate, you can click the activate button, and it is now active. So I have two rules which are active, right? So let me deactivate the one which was created before. So I deactivated the before. So I have only one rule which is now activated. Okay. So let's test it out if it works or not. So we go there, we go to Z property. I'm almost done. I'm coming. And we create a new record. So for now, I can asking price, let's give it less than 800, so 500,000. Okay, property type, whatever, doesn't matter. So here, this field, I'm leaving it empty. Just make note of it. Workflow field update, I'm leaving it empty. I'm not touching it. And in future, if I want, I can even hide this field from the page layout, right? I can save this record. Okay, do you see that that field is not updated? And the record is 500, which is true because it is less than the condition. Now let's say if I added this record, is something changed or not? So let's make it 900,000. I'm not touching the field. Did you see that field is automatically updated? Because now I have a condition of 900,000. Let's say if I go back, and so basically if I so if it also send two emails. So sometime the email takes time. So if you're testing the emails, I just noticed that on the weekend and sometime the email takes a while to come up. But I have some emails that I was testing yesterday. So this is how the email comes up. Thanks for your listing or whatever email setup you have. So the email comes up. Okay, here. So you see that this email just comes up right now, which is good. Sometime I notice that on a weekend, the email server is slow. Sometime it's fine. Yesterday for me, it is taking really long time. So I was not sure what's going on. But here you can see that this email comes up right away. So I set up a welcome email template, and right now it just happened 2:27 p.m. just a minute ago, and then email comes up, automatic email, thanks for your listing, right? So this email comes up. We also able to update a field. So just very quickly show you another record from the scratch, that if we already have that, it will already populated. So this one is again test. And this time I can give the pricing higher than the threshold. So 900,000, choose whatever property or leave it. And I'm not touching the workflow field update, save it. And you can see that this is automatically updated. So that is how you can update a field. And this is just an example just to show you, but you can update any field. You can update a discount. You can give a discount. You can choose whatever you want. And then that also sends out an email.
And you select the second option, right? Out of three.
I selected, but again, when we say create, even if I selected any of the option, and if the condition is satisfied, it will be work on all three conditions. The second option will come up if I added that, right? So if I added that right now, and if I have a second option, then it will not execute. But if it, third option, it will not execute because the condition is already true. But if I added, and if I selected the second option, every time it will calculate.
Right, in all conditions.
In all conditions. It doesn't matter if it is satisfied, not satisfied, before, after, but if I choose second time, it will always check it. So that's how it works basically. So very useful option. There are some more advanced options than workflow. Again, this is not the latest and greatest. There are other ways to do the same thing, but the real purpose is that you understand, again, what we are doing right now, as we already just completed our time, is I'm showing you different tools one by one separately. So workflow is one tool, email template is another tool, assignment rules is another tool, like whatever, like other page layouts is another option. There are a lot of these are different separate tools. But at the end of our course, or at the end of the day, when you're working on actual project, then is the real quality, that based on the issue, how would you pull the right tools and connect them together. Because when you're working on a problem, then you probably need like multiple of these tools. For example, you already see that when I'm using the workflow rule, I also use a criteria. So I need to understand what criteria means, right? Also, I use a template. So I need to know how to create a template. I also need to know how to update a field. So I need to have the field that needs to be updated. So all of these things actually start coming together and give you multiple options that you can able to use. So this is how
Is
this
there
is
any